Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to all of you folks. Wow, we got an extraordinary call lineup today. I can't wait to get into it. He's been a senior vice president as long as I can remember, at least 20 years or better. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's married to a beautiful woman named Andrea, and we get together and we just laugh. I just love to hear her laugh. Her laugh makes anybody laugh. She's got this beautiful laugh and a sharp woman. I mean, incredible. He has two children, a son and a daughter. He's really into fitness, and I tell you what, this guy is amazing. He opened up and launched the country of Australia. Maybe we'll talk about that, and as well as Japan. Oh yeah, he's big time. And the last time I saw him physically, we were in Africa together. Yeah, we were in Africa on an ASEAN trip, and we took out a car. We just had a great time. I can't tell you, we went all over Africa and then back to the resort. I don't know what time it got back there, but his wife's laughter got me going. It's like gasoline in the tank. Without further ado, he hails from Southern California. What my dear friend, and I tell you what, I'm just ecstatic to have him on the call today. You just have no idea. The one and only senior vice president forever. I'm gonna say again, forever. The great Mr. Brian Sachs.
Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good.
Hey, I want to make sure that everyone knows how honored I am to be on this call. Al has been a great friend for years and years and years. And what I love most about ACN is the people and the friends and the friendships. For me, there's business. Business is important, but I think friendship is even more important. And when Al asked me to do this call, I said, of course, you don't have to ask. We'll do anything for you, man, anything. And to know that all of you are working directly with Al, I want to make sure you know how special it is, because in multi-level marketing around the world, maybe only one or two people in 100 have the opportunity and the privilege to work with somebody like Al, who really truly cares and is willing to put in the work. And, I've known Al very, very well. I probably have known Al for longer than any of you have known Al, and he'll do anything for all of you. All he's thinking about 24/7 is how to help his team, how to help people. And he's wonderful. He's always had a heart of gold. He's always put other people first. He's always been a true leader, and most important, just a great guy, just a great person. And so, I'm definitely excited and honored to be here this morning. But but before everything, I just want to thank you, Al, for your friendship, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Many, many years of friendship and adventures.
Yes, we have.
All right, here we go. Let's talk. And I kind of wanted to give you a sense, I guess. I'll go over my background, and then after that, perhaps go into my experiences in building ACN globally, especially in some of these countries. But my background was engineering, and I got, I spent $140,000 at Princeton getting an engineering degree, and after college, all I wanted to do is run track and field full time for the United States. And so I ended up moving out to Colorado, sleeping on the floor, putting a whole bunch of stuff on credit cards, going after my dream. Unfortunately, I didn't, I ran out of money. So I had to actually move back in with my parents, and I took an engineering job. It was terrible. It was 70 hours a week of me being in front of the computer. I was just going crazy. And I would sit out in the parking lot each day and my stomach would burn. And I would think to myself, I can't do this for the next 40 years. I was thinking to myself, I can't do this for the next year. So I was really open and hungry and looking. The problem was that I didn't have any experience in anything except for engineering. And I had long hair all the way down my back. And so, I'll give you this story here. So when I was a California public school, graduate going to Princeton, and, half of the people at Princeton were really stuffy and kind of stuck up, and, they kind of judgmental. Like, we all know people like this, right? And so I wanted to be the California guy to come in there and mix things up. So I grew out my hair. I dressed like a hack. I kind of had a chip on my shoulder, kind of bucking the system. So that did not prepare me for anything in marketing or sales or network marketing. So, during engineering, I was definitely not a people person. In fact, when I took a look at ACN, I was thinking, well, how am I going to do this? I thought, well, when I first saw ACN, I'll tell you the story. I saw the company the first time on December 21, 1996. There were maybe, let's see, 35 people in a room. It was 4 days before Christmas, 35 people in a room. And 10 minutes in, I got so excited that I said, this is what I want to do. I was very naive. I was only 25 years old. So I had no idea, that in order for a company to succeed, you have to have really good ownership team, really great people. There had to be an element of luck too, because anything could happen in business in the first 5 years, and ACN was 4 years old. And the people who run the company have to be really intelligent with respect to running a company and running an organization. And so I assumed this is what I was going to do full time for the rest of my life without knowing any of the information. But you could have, here's the crazy thing. I don't care what it was. It could have been Amway. It could have been Herbalife. I was so open. I had never seen multi-level marketing before. And I was approached. And who approached me? That's a good question. So I was, immersed in my engineering. My best friend was Brian McCaffrey. He was also a runner from Stanford University. He was also an engineer with a different company. And his roommate was Frank. Frank graduated from Yale with a medical degree. He was on the UCLA heart transplant team. He was maybe around 30 and is super busy. I mean, he'd actually get on a jet, fly out somewhere, get a heart, come back. Part of his internship, put all those heart surgery stuff. But he knew that me and Brian were not happy with our engineering. So he said, here's a good story. He said, we got to go to a meeting. You got to see a meeting. We said, Frank, you going to be there? He said, no, I got hard stuff to do. I said, all right. So we showed up. We showed up at this hotel in Studio City, and there were 300 people there. We sat in the back, and they were talking about insurance. And we're thinking to ourselves, we kind of tuned out. We ordered some food. We sat in the back. It was like 3 hours long. And we called Frank afterwards. So what is this? And it turned out we were at the wrong meeting. We're at the wrong meeting, like, dude. And so we're like, Frank, tell us where to go, man. We're interested. We're excited. Tell us where to go. And he said, there's going to be another meeting at someone's house in a few days. So we went and we went to the house. That was the home presentation. And then after that, I was so excited. Here's something funny also. I wanted to sign up right then. I said, I'll get $500 for you, no problem. You couldn't pay by credit card at that time. So I was ready to go and get the money. But everybody there was, oh, no, that's okay. We don't need to sign up right now. It took until January 8th for them to actually collect my money, even though I really wanted to sign up. Here's something else. So Brian McCaffrey, my best friend, he's a little bit more analytical. He's a little bit slower, but he introduced it to me. And so, at the beginning of January, I was like, Brian, let's go, let's sign up. And he was like, no, I want to do a little more due diligence. And finally I said, okay, I'm signing up. I said, Brian, I'll give you $500. You sign up a position above me and I'm in and we're good. He's like, no, that's okay. You just sign up. So he could have been my sponsor. He could have been my sponsor. He went full-time for a year, but then he kind of fizzled out after a year. But I think, over the last 10 years, we kind of drifted apart. I think it doesn't make him feel too good when he sees the opportunity that he lost. But here's my point on all this. There are so many people out there who are so hungry. They don't look like they'd be good at business. I look like a hack. You should have seen pictures of me when I had long hair. There's no way that you would have said, oh, that guy could be great in business. No. And then in the beginning, so all you have to do, you never know when you're out and about, when you're meeting people, when you're walking down the street, I'm telling you, statistically, there's people all over there where if you just introduce this to them, you couldn't stop them from becoming a regional or senior vice president on your team. You couldn't stop them from building in other countries. They'll fly by you and just build the biggest organization. You'll call up and, hey, need help? Need help? No, I got it. It's okay. Who'd like to have some people like that on your team? They're out there. They're everywhere. All you have to do is to approach them. And if they're, and if they're sharp, then you have to know how to get them in touch with Al or other people on their team who can communicate with them and tell them the things they need to know in the manner in which they need to hear it. Does that make sense? But that's what I like about, that's what I love about network marketing. You should never get down about where you are, how much production you have, or how little production you have, because things can change in an instant all the time. When I see people struggling and I get them focused on the right things, 30 days later, they're doing crazy great things. It's kind of like, I shouldn't use this example. I'm not going to use this example. All right. But the bottom line is that all of you are one single person away from just having a huge surge in your business. And I want to make sure you're always looking out for that. And you don't just sit back knowing it's there. You make it happen. Talk to a few people every day. Talk to 10 people, brand new, warm market or cold market every day. It only takes 30 seconds per person, and you never know who you're going to meet. Yes? All right. Okay. So I got started. And do you think my start was fast or slow? Who says fast? Raise your hand. Who says slow? Raise your hand. Right. It was excruciatingly, painfully slow. When I first saw this, I said, I'm going to be a regional VP in 5 months. And by the way, regional vice president back then was harder to attain than senior vice president is now. So it was very, very hard back then. But needless to say, I did not get to regional vice president in 5 months. It was so painfully slow. I had to learn a few things. I had to learn how to shake hands. I had to learn how to look people in the eye, and I had to learn how to smile. So I really had to learn those things. And what I always get excited, because when I see a whole bunch of people who are relatively new in the business, I look at everybody and say, hey, everybody here has got 90% of you had better skills with people than I did when I first started. One of the things I did do is I took it seriously from the beginning. So you see this, right? Like, I take this business seriously all the time. I treated it as if it were a super, super serious business. My first year, I went to, it was 3 meetings. We did Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And I went to 3 meetings a week. It took me over an hour to get there, and sometimes an hour and 30 to get there for the Tuesday and the Wednesday meetings. And on the Saturday meetings, it took over an hour to get back to where I was, but I took it totally seriously. Guess how many meetings I attended that first year in 1997? 150. I attended all the meetings. When Larry Raskin came to California, I got really excited. So I saw him in LA. Then he was supposed to be in San Diego. I drove to San Diego. I watched him there. I drove to San Jose. I watched him there. I drove to San Francisco. I watched him there. I followed him around. I took really, really, really good notes. I haven't read a lot of books or listened to a lot of tapes in 24 years. Most everything that I have is from ACN leadership. And I developed a branch kind of network marketing psychology myself, maybe about 10 years ago. But the foundation for most of this is from what I've learned, through ACN, and most of my personal growth and development, we're listening to people like Al Thomas and all the other senior vice president, regional vice presidents, and the owners of the company. So one of the things you don't have to do is you don't have to be a guru in personal growth and development. If you immerse yourself just listening to the messages of other ACN leaders, because what do you want to do? Here's a good philosophical point. You want to become a regional or senior vice president, right? Do you think you'd get there faster by listening to, I love Darren Hardy, like Darren Hardy or some of these other guys, or listening to the senior vice presidents who have taken all of the personal growth that they've learned and they apply it to ACN in their ACN trainings they apply just what you need to know. You don't have to spend 10, 20 hours a week doing personal growth outside of ACE. You can do it all within ACN and be totally fine. Al, do you agree with that? Right? So, I mean, that's something that I learned along the way. So my start was very slow. It took me maybe 9 months to TC. And I went full-time from the beginning, which I don't recommend, but I didn't have a wife. I didn't have children. And I was just working really hard. I mean, I was 80 hours a week. And I moved out of my parents' house. I was sleeping on my friend Brian McCaffrey's floor for about 9 months as a TC. And I slept on another friend's floor as a TC. You know, TC is regional director now. I was making almost nothing, but I didn't care. I didn't care. Every time that I failed, I resolved to work twice as hard. And so I was working Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. And after a while, I got a little more. I had a big breakthrough after 2 years and 9 months. I became a regional vice president in 3.5 years. And then the company said that they were going to create a new position called senior vice president. I got really excited. The amounts of money they talked at senior VP were enormous. And so Texas was opening electricity. And I said, okay, I had a Toyota Celica at the time, one of the hatchbacks from the early or from the late 90s, where you just throw everything in the back, including your bike. You throw everything in the back. And so I said, you know what? I'm a regional vice president. I'm just going to get in my car and I'm not going to come back until I'm a senior vice president. And I had some warm market in Texas and the Northeast. I was tapping into my collegiate warm market. But when I got to Texas, I met a couple of key individuals and boom, Midland, Odessa, this little tiny area in West Texas, oil town. And I started just me. There's 200,000 people there. And then there's desert all around. I was the only person there. And so I started working and I just went all out. In the first month, I put in 30 people. The next month, 170 people. The next month, 450 people. Month number 4, there were 1,000 individual people. We took 14% of the electricity market in 6 months in that area. And I got to senior vice president in 8 months from actually being there. And to tell you how difficult that would be now, it was the equivalent, because senior vice president now is a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. As I said before, it's easier to get to senior VP now than it was to regional vice president back in the day. Back then, it took 12,000 individual customers placed in the right places. Right now, how many customers, if the average customer is worth 2.5 points, or let's say 3, I just about 3 points. How many customers does it take right now to become senior vice president? Let's do the math. So you need 2 RVPs, and RVPs need 3,000 points, which is like 1,000 customers. So 1,000, and then 4 RDs. I haven't done this in the US for a while. And each RD, you basically need 200 customers. So 1,800 customers. 1,800 customers, perfectly placed at 3 points apiece. Back then, each customer was 1 point. So there were no points back then. And so it took 12,000 customers to become a senior vice president before. Now it only takes 1,800 customers. So 1,800 divided by 12,000 equals, it's only 15% as hard to become a senior vice president now as it was. 15%. That's crazy. It was 7 times as hard to become senior vice president back in the day. And so in 8 months, I was 40% the way there. So that would mean that I built the equivalent to senior vice president 4 times within 8 months. And if I can do that, what can you do? And I didn't have the help like Al out there. It was just me. It was just me. And so I had the honor and privilege of being promoted as the first senior vice president out of the US, second in the world, because, Art and George did it off of European production. And that was January 31, 2003. That's when I became a senior vice president. And then the company said they were going to open up Australia. So I got married in 2004. And I went down to, and I got very excited. By the way, who in ACN, when a country opens up, who says, hey, Brian, you go down and work this country. Al, you go down and work this country. You work this country, or you're open to if you choose to. Who says that? Who's in charge of ACN of doing that? Which of the owners or management team? No one. No one. It's all our own individual choices. That's what makes this so brilliant. Nobody said, Brian, can you please open Australia? Can you move to Australia for 7 years? No, nobody said that. Nobody will ever say that. They open it up and we can do whatever we want. And so I saw the opportunity, move to Australia, open up Australia, New Zealand, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, South Korea, Mexico, and in all these countries. I moved back in 2012 to the US when our children were of kindergarten age. And but the Australia, we put 6,000 people in the first 90 days in Australia. And then we beat the record in New Zealand. New Zealand in 2006, they only have 4 million people there, 4 or 5 million, and we put in 7,000 IBOs in a period of 3 months, which is great. Anything can happen, and it doesn't even have to be you. All you have to do is know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows one person in one of these countries. They open up that country, and you may not even ever go there. Would it be okay if you were sitting on your couch at home in a couple of years, knowing that there were thousands or tens of thousands of people using these services in another country and you were making money? Who'd be okay with that? But let me ask you, is there anybody here who likes to travel? If you like to travel, raise your hand. If you like to travel and if you're excited about ACN, we are going to have so much fun over the years to come. Imagine going with us to some of these countries and really getting to experience the culture, the people, the food, the geography, at the same time being able to make a fortune possibly as these countries open up. I'll give you a South Korea story. Here's a great story. You never know what you're going to get when you open a country. And in South Korea, I worked really hard. It was the first Asian country. It was 2011, 10, 11, somewhere in there. And I got so excited because, I knew how big Asia was going to be. And so I went out there. I did 6 trips back and forth. I worked 14 hours a day meeting. All these people were coming to me, Brian, man, I'm your guy. I've got 5,000 people from another company I'm bringing over. I got 8,000. I got 10,000 people. I was so excited I couldn't see. I was like, man, 50,000 people are going to join the team. Who'd be a little bit excited if you had meetings like that? I was so excited. And then we launched after I worked harder than any country launch. Guess how many people joined this one group where I spent 90% of my time? Guess how many people? Who would be excited if 5,000 people join your team off the launch? I didn't get 5,000, unfortunately. I was very disappointed because, because so many promises were made. Who'd be okay with 1,000? I didn't get 1,000. How about 500? Would you be okay with 500? 100? 12. I spent all that time and 12 people joined. I couldn't believe it. It's like, what happened? All of this over-promising, untruthfulness, crazy stuff. And, I train people not to get disappointed in ACN. There's ups and downs. And, one of the 2 big rules that you learn in life is that one of the rules that people lie. And so there's a lot of lying going on there. But I had this one guy named, Mr. Coombe. So Mr. Coombe, he always asked me to bring people out to dinner. Because the way it is in Korea is that, whining and dining is important. Our Debbie Davis went there. She spent $5,000 just bringing people out to one meal. And, and they really like to, some of the people out there were really taking advantage of us as leaders, and saying all this big stuff. And so Mr. Coombe, he usually had 20 to 30 people. I took, before the launch, I took him out, his people out at least 8 times to dinners, and he didn't speak English. So there's interpretation going on. But when no one signed up, I was a little bit disappointed. I felt like, oh, these guys took advantage of me, man. I must have spent $15,000 on food and meals for taking these big groups of people out. And of course, people tend to eat a lot more when they're not paying for it, and drink a lot more when they're not paying for it. It was terrible. So it was probably more than 15,000. It was probably 25,000. It was ridiculous. And so I remember it was my last trip there. It was my 12th trip there. And I was coming back right before it was, right after the launch. And Mr. Coombe was like, hey, can you come out one last time for dinner with us? I said, yes, but Mr. Coombe, I said through the interpreter, there's one thing I'm not going to do. I just can't pay for you this time. And it's not because there's a financial issue. I just don't feel right about it, because you said there'd be tens of thousands of people on your team. There's 12 people. And by the way, who are all these people coming to dinner? If they didn't sign up, who are these people? Actually, and some of these people I saw again and again and again didn't sign up. They're there for a free dinner. And so we went to dinner. At the end of dinner, Mr. Coombe made a speech. Oh, thank you, Brian Sachs. Thank you so much for doing all this work for us and for paying for dinner tonight. Thank you so much. And so I took him aside through the interpreter. I said, Mr. Coombe, we talked about this. I love you, but like I said in the beginning, I'm not paying for dinner. And I took off. And I was like, all right, that's it. Mr. Coombe's never going to talk to me ever again, because when you lose face in front of other people, especially in the Asian culture, I mean, that's it. So I figured, he probably had to pay for it. And then that was it. And so I had PTSD. So I was like, I didn't even want to talk about Korea. Don't talk about Korea. But I knew that everyone was going. Mr. Coombe he was the only guy who was the last man standing out of these 12 people. And he was going to the office every day, because ACN spent $20 million to put it in an office, and lots of infrastructure. So he's going every day. Everybody's working. Like 6 months later, he eventually, after six months, 8 months, he became a TC. And then about 6 months after that, somebody joined his team. And then somebody else joined his team. And it was a leader, and a couple of leaders joined the team. And all of a sudden they started putting in big numbers. And this one guy who joined his team, he went RVP in 4 months, senior vice president in 11 months. Guess how many people were joining his team every month? Take a guess. Over 2,000 per month. And it cost a lot more out there to get started. It was like I think it was like $800, $900, which for a Korean, if you look at gross domestic product and how much money they make, it's kind of like here in the US, if it costs $2,500 to get started. And 2,000 people were joining every single month, and the team just went crazy. It shot up to 500,000 customer points like that. And it became my biggest line, multiple senior vice presidents, multiple regional vice presidents. We had, the Japan team, half of the Japan team, Akiko, right? Like I came from all of that and just started going. I mean, it's just an incredible story. So one of the things I want to make sure that you do is to know that statistical probability always wins. I've got an engineering background, so that means that if you talk to enough people, you're going to find good people. If you do enough work, great things are going to happen. But you have to stick around in the ACN system. The people who really lose are the people who put in a year, 2, 3, 4 years, and then somehow they wander off, or they see the grass is greener somewhere else. And the people that you talk to in ACN, I mean, there's two kinds of people: the people who quit and the people who don't quit. The people who don't quit are there for years. Eventually stuff happens, magic happens eventually, either for them or someone that they find. So that's the magic of ACN. That's the key of ACN. Never think that the grass is always greener out there. Our owners, Robert and Mike and Tony, Greg and David Stefanowski, Robert's brother. I mean, they're just the greatest people. And that's the reason why ACN has done so well, because it's not just about us. People in the field like us, we can come and go, but the ownership team is so fantastic. And after being in the business for 25 years now, it'll be 25 years in let's see, coming up in January, it'll be 25 years. So I've seen lots of ownership teams. I mean, our ownership team is unique. Remember, out of the hundreds of thousands of MLM companies that have started, there's only maybe 50 that have weathered all the storms over the years, that are solid long-term companies. And our company is one of those, and it comes from our owners, because our owners used to be in the field. Our owners did all the stuff that we do. They appreciate us. The last thing they would ever do is do things to hurt us, or do something like sell the company and put us in a bad position. They know that we have attached all of our hopes and dreams in life to this company, to ACN. And again, for them, business important, but friendship is equally, if not more important. They're friends with Al, they're friends with me, they're friends with all of the senior vice presidents, and they're only going to do things in our best interest. So I want to make sure you know how solid the foundation is. But my final message to you is just take it seriously. Put in the work, take it seriously. If you take your job this seriously, take ACN this seriously. If you dress like this at work, dress like this for ACN events. If you prioritize your time, work time here, prioritize ACN time here. Work time for you maybe 50 to 60 hours, ACN time maybe 15 hours, but for those 15 hours, prioritize them higher, take it more seriously, because this is your future. This is your business, where work is just work. Now, don't get in trouble by doing ACN work at work. Don't do that. There's plenty of hours in the week to actually to do both. But it's time to take it seriously as everybody gets back to normal and getting back to regular face-to-face meetings. I mean, this is your chance. All of you have honed some incredible skills over the last 18 months with all the COVID stuff. Now it's time to get back in the trenches, do as much face-to-face stuff as you can, because remember, every hour that you do face-to-face is worth 5 to 10 hours on Zoom. We know that to be true. We know in Zoom, we can actually talk to more people, but the connections for new people and for recruiting people, the connections are not as good. There's nothing that beats, we all agree, right? There's nothing that actually beats face-to-face. And then you get them on training and more efficient stuff through this. But it's time to roll up our sleeves, really get back in the trenches, really make the commitment. Time to sit down with our families, tell them exactly why you're doing this, and roll them in the vision so they become your best supporters. And let's make it happen. Yes, let's finish this year strong, and then 2022 is going to be unimaginable. It's going to be an incredible year for those of you who are looking to maybe do some country launches. The next Asian country launches are supposedly, and remember, this isn't in writing, so don't take my word for it, but supposedly it's going to be Singapore and Malaysia. Not anytime soon, because you got to wait for COVID and you got to wait for all this stuff to happen. You got to put in the infrastructure and systems and all of that. But the best way to do that is to find people from Singapore and Malaysia who live in your area. That's it. All you got to do is do that. There's tons of Singaporeans and Malaysians who live in the United States. And that could be a side project. It could be a fun side project for you. If you can get 5 to 10 people on your team who have contacts back there, chances are you may even have 1 or 2 of those people who actually say, hey, I want to go there and open the country. Even if you don't, wouldn't it be great to have a couple people out there opening the country, and you're on in the middle of the night, you're on Zoom calls, talking to everybody, Malaysia and Singapore, helping everybody get customers and helping everybody do all this stuff. Wouldn't that be great? By the way, one piece of advice, we actually have products in the Asian marketplace. In Korea, not yet in Japan, but we may in other countries. So in any presentations that you do not use the lotions and potions line and all of that if you want to build into Asia. If you want to stick in Europe, South and Latin America, and North America, that's great. But they love hair care and skin care and nutritional products. They love it in the Asian countries. And it's very important we respect that, and that, if you build in these countries, a significant portion of your income might indeed come from those products. And of course, there's lots of ifs because we don't know exactly what we're opening with out there, but the Korean products are phenomenal. And the people who have a hand in Korea actually earn a lot of money on the Korean products. They're great products too. But that's my message for you. Was that a good talk this morning?